Greetings, YouTube. I no longer read fiction, but at one time I was a voracious consumer of science fiction and fantasy, particularly science fiction, and I'm still a fan of science fiction and fantasy movies, comic books, and once in a while animation. One thing that I've discovered over the years that kind of bugs me is that in these genres, different races of creatures are incredibly homogeneous. The worst offender in this regard is Star Trek. All Klingons are chaotic barbarians. All Vulcans are logical thinkers. There are no chaotic Vulcans. There are no monastic ninja Klingons or peace-loving Buddhist Klingons. Humans are presented in that universe and shown to have multiple nations, different languages, different cultures. But the Klingons, they're all just one. The Romulans, pretty much the same. Vulcans, Andorians, you get the point. It's this really bland, homogeneous universe. Now I realize that Roddenberry did it for a reason. He was using these different races as metaphors for nations here on Earth, or for philosophical points of view, but it doesn't really seem all that believable to me. And fantasy is just the same. Elves are all, tree-loving, high-minded spellcasters and bow users, and dwarves are always deep-dwelling miners and smiths. You don't see a lot of dwarven monks, and you should. I think a dwarven monk would rock. You see it in every single race I've encountered, and it drives me nuts. Star Wars isn't much better. Wookiees. Big, hairy barbarians. I don't know what the heck Jar Jar Binks was, I can't remember, but his race seemed to be just as homogeneous as all the rest. I want some flavor. I want some variety. I want a race to be something that you can pick and choose from. You can't just say that, okay, I'm playing an elf and everybody automatically knows what you're playing, or I'm playing a dwarf and, oh, okay, I'm reading about a dwarf. I know all the stereotypes, likes beer, has a Scottish accent. I never quite figured out why dwarves always have Scottish accents either. But I like variety, even in my fiction, even in my movies. I want there to be multiple cultures, multiple races that breathe and move and feel like the real world. Yes, it's a lot more work, much more difficult, and I'm putting more burden on a writer than maybe a lot of people would. But in the end, I think the depth of culture, the richness of background, makes the whole process completely and utterly worthwhile.